Hey everyone, it's Brian from Ultimate Upland, and you are watching the Upland Game Show. It's the show where we talk about the outdoors and upland hunting and ask questions to try and determine the winner of Bird Brain Trivia. And tonight, joining me, you're going to recognize these guys from being around the pursuit for so long. We've got Greg Elliott. He's, of course, a writer and an influencer, and you'll notice him from the dogsanddoubles.com and his presence on social media. And we've got Craig Doherty. He is a renowned trainer, author, and, of course, a columnist. So welcome to the show tonight, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Good to be on.
Well, of course, I was just mentioning to Greg that he's got this background that makes it look like he's the host, so he should probably be the one asking the questions tonight. So that's the coolest background we've had so far. Normally, what I do when we jump on is I ask guys to kind of go over their background in the sport. But you guys, your backgrounds are so extensive, and everybody's going to have read a lot of what you've done. From our audience. So I'm going to change that initial question up a little bit to how'd you get started? And that's, I think, an interesting question just because everybody's trying to solve the riddle of how we get more people started. So Craig, how'd you get started and when?
Well, I'm going to give you, I'm going to turn like this. No, it's too bright. I was going to say, if you could see out my window, what you'd see is grouse cover. Right, Greg?
He probably has a grouse in the backyard right now. There's probably one knocking on the door.
Greg's been here many times. So I messed with it when I was a kid, and then in the 80s, I moved back here to New Hampshire and got serious about it. I mean, I just live in grouse country and worked in education, so I had plenty of free time to chase birds and dogs and do all that sort of fun stuff.
There's too much opportunity not to do it, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
What about you, Greg? How'd you get started?
So I actually got started because I'm actually from sort of the town next door where Craig lives now. But Craig and I never knew each other when I lived up there. So up in northern New Hampshire. When I lived up there, it was sort of the same situation that Craig has. There's all sorts of grouse cover up there. And I started, the first time I ever hunted grouse was not that far from where Craig lives right now. And I had been into guns and done a little bird hunting before then. But it wasn't really till my family, when I was a kid, moved up to northern New Hampshire that I really got into it. And then I got into the dogs. I had a Brittany Spaniel, and then the gun stuff, all that kind of stuff just took over my life. So. And Craig and I kind of met again. It was probably like 20 years ago. Or we met for the first time 20 years ago at a field trial, I think. So
it's funny how it takes over for some guys. You know, I think the three of us are probably those guys where we just get ate up with it. You know, when we live and breathe it. It sounds like, Craig, you live and breathe upland hunting. When you're not upland hunting, you think about upland hunting. And when you're not thinking about upland hunting, you're thinking about gun dogs.
Well, I'm always thinking about dogs because I train year round. I go to Kentucky in the winter and train down there. We go to Kansas and hunt in the winter, and then I've got a dozen dogs here now, and there's more coming in. Greg's dog's coming later this summer, and so yeah, dogs are the major thing in my life right now as far as the upland is concerned. And then I have to have a gun and I guide and. And all that sort of stuff.
Right. It just rolls. Greg, are you still up there in the Northeast too?
No, so I'm in the Northeast, but I live outside of Boston.
Okay.
So I'm like 3 hours south of Craig.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'm going to familiarize everybody. You guys have seen previous shows, but just for if anybody is joining us and hasn't seen a show before, I'll just refresh everybody with how the show works. I'm going to ask you guys a series of questions. The closest to the correct answer in those questions is going to be awarded a point. And the winner after the series of questions will receive the Ultimate Upland cap with the brightest orange you've ever seen in your life. Of course, the Ultimate Upland cooler sticker and $25 Cabela's gift card. Not a sponsor,
Nice.
but go ahead and at me, Cabela's. So that's what the winner gets. But we, just like all other shows, we like to put some stakes to it. You guys have been hashing out what those stakes are and what the loser's going to get, because there are no points for second place. So what'd you guys decide on?
Well,
I think
Greg
we're going to
hunts with me, Greg hunts with me every fall. He's one of my guiding clients, and he wanted me to wear a skirt if I lost on a guided hunt.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and I said, well, I'm probably going to win, so I'll go with it. But in case I don't, we'll call it a kilt. So the loser has to wear a kilt in the woods one day this fall when we hunt together.
I like it. That's some serious skin in the game right there, literally. I can't imagine some of those grouse covers with a skirt on. So I mean a kilt. So I'm excited for this episode for sure. The prize may just be way down on the list as far as the penalty is going to be the real incentive here. But we're going to dive right in. We were talking about you were talking about training dogs, and I know that you guys are both pointer guys right now, right?
Yep.
Yes.
You always been pointer guys? Well, I just heard, Greg, you started in as a Brittany guy, shorter leg, but now you're
yeah. So Brittany's, yeah. I've always had pointing dogs. I've been around Springer Spaniels and some Cocker Spaniels and stuff, but I've always had pointing dogs, and I've had pointers for the last 20 years. So,
Craig, when he says Spaniel being a flushing breed, does that make you cringe a little bit? Are you a pointing breed purist? Are you a pointer purist?
I've never seen a flushing dog in the field, so it doesn't make me cringe. I don't know what I wouldn't even know what to expect. So I too started with a Brittany. I switched to setters, and then like Greg, I reached enlightenment and have pointers now.
That's right. Came to his senses, got an English pointer.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'm going to stick in you guys' wheelhouse then, since you're both pointer guys, with the first question. Normally, I have people write down their answers so that you can't just prices right the other person and say one more or one less. So do you have a pen and paper ready?
I got my Sharpie right here.
Okay, cool.
All right, I'm good.
All right. Pointers are popular in upland hunting. In a lot of ways, they're the prototypical upland hunting dog. And whether or not you guys are fans of the AKC, they do a lot of tracking of dogs. So according to the AKC, out of 195 recognized breeds, where does the pointer rank in popularity?
Last. So how are we supposed to write down the answers? Or
write down the answer, and then I'll have you guys show them at the same time so that there's no changing of those answers. We want to be fair. I mean, that skirt is a lot on the line. Let's be real.
Kilt.
You got your answer?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right, let's see them. 100.
Less than 100.
And 145. Well, the answer according to the AKC is they rank 114. So if we take Craig's answer of less than 100, I think we're going to accept that as being closer than 145. Craig scores the first point, 1-0.
Yeah. Well, Greg, you could start ordering that.
That's right. I found a blaze orange one, so we're good.
Oh,
okay.
This is going to be the best thing to. I mean, I can't wait to see this. Honestly, I wish if we'd have thought of it a little bit, I'd order it in advance and send it to you. So, you guys being Northeast guys, is your favorite bird to chase grouse? Is that the favorite one, Greg, or are you preferential to any other bird?
No, grouse and woodcock, pretty much. I've never hunted wild quail. I've hunted a lot of pheasants. I'd rather hunt grouse and woodcock, but
that tops the list.
Yeah, it tops the list. Yeah.
And Craig, I'm going to just go ahead and guess that's it.
Actually, I pursue a lot of woodcock. because I'm always working a lot of young dogs, and your success rate is a lot higher with a young dog with woodcock. I love the grouse hunting. I love taking my my adult dogs out and having them nail a grouse and getting a crack at it. But I do spend a lot of time with woodcock, and also a lot of my customers, not Greg, a lot of my customers, I can't hit a grouse to save their life, so I put a lot of woodcock up for them in October because they actually shoot some of them.
So for those of you who don't know, aren't real familiar with how woodcock act in comparison to grouse, that I guess that most hunters would say that they're more gentlemanly. They play a more fair sport. They tend to hold for dogs, whereas smart grouse will run. That may be blasphemy for some people to hear, but that's my experience. Is that a smart rough grouse has no problem running out of a point, whereas a woodcock, although some of them do run, for the most part, they hold a lot better. So for young dogs, it's an easier game to get. Is that what you would say, Craig?
Yeah, that's my point exactly. Yeah.
Well, because you're rough grouse guys for the most part, second question is going to be a rough grouse question. You guys familiar with eBird? It's a nonprofit org that does a lot of tracking of birds, and it's where birders go to look at stuff. And if you're an upland hunter, it's probably not, they don't want to hear that you're using that tool to see where birds are, but it's out there and people report where they see birds, different species. So you can go on eBird anytime you want and see where the latest sightings are in your area by year, by density. It's a cool tool. So when I guessed that you guys were going to be rough grouse hunters through and through, I thought let's do a rough grouse question that's a little challenging, because you guys, the basic knowledge on rough grouse is going to be way too easy to answer most questions. So I went on eBird and I looked up in 2019 the furthest north point in the United States where there was a sighting of rough grouse, and the furthest south point in the United States where there was a rough grouse. So in 2019, what was the distance as the grouse flies, straight line, between the furthest point north and the furthest point south in the United States for a rough grouse sighting? What's the distance in miles?
We talking continental United States, or?
We are talking continental United States.
Okay.
No, that's not true, because, well, it is continental. Yeah, but you can't find.
But you're.
Are you talking the contiguous 48, or are you talking?
I'm talking all 50 states. See,
Right.
I knew you guys were going to be entirely too smart for the basic question. I knew you weren't going to be suckered by it.
Let's see.
For those of you playing along at home, this is going to be they've already solved half of the equation.
Well, yeah, but the problem is I can't estimate off the top of my head the distance from Alaska to Georgia.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yes. Just throw something.
I don't want to help Greg with his answer, but that's the dilemma I'm facing here.
Craig covered up his phone camera, so he's Googling it right now.
Yeah, that's on my other. I forgot what side the camera was on.
So you got your answers written down? You got
I got mine.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to show you because this is where people would have been stumped. I'm going to share a screen real quick here just so you guys, so everybody can see. And this is what the eBird screens generally look like. If you zoom in, you can get individual points. That's the 2019 map. And then what numbers did you come up with?
So I have 5,700 miles. So I don't know if that's accurate, but so all the way up there from northern Alaska to Georgia.
Yeah. And what's yours?
Mine's 3,500 miles.
3,500. Well, I just happened to draw a quick line. 3,231 miles. It's from Wilson Mill, Georgia, was the closest town south, and Central Alaska is the name of the town up north. Most people wouldn't think. I thought I was going to stump you guys on the Alaska portion of the question, but you guys I knew you were going to be too smart, but that puts Craig up by 2. We got a dog in the camera. That's a bonus point. So let's talk about gear. I always like to ask a gear question because I think that as writers and authors and trainers that we probably are use gear harder than the average person. The truth is the average upland hunter probably only hunts about 2 weekends out of a year. So I think we put gear to the test a little bit harder. And because you guys started mentioning the kilt, I started thinking, okay, what do you normally wear on your legs? So, Greg, do you have a preferred pant that you're wearing in grouse territory? As far as you know, you don't have to shout out a brand if you don't want to. But I think it's interesting. I think that's what new hunters want to know is what are guys wearing, what are experienced guys using, and upland pants to me are one of the most important elements for hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always wear upland pants. I used to wear jeans, but then I started wearing upland pants, and it makes a huge difference. I try to get ones that are largely nylon. So nylon fronts and like a nylon, so basically not cotton, because any cotton holds on to moisture. And I buy them off of eBay for as little money as possible. So like I'll buy used ones off of, I'll buy used LL Bean ones for $20 because I'm not going to spend $100 on a pair of bird hunting pants. And I always buy them big. I always buy them like at least a size too big and a little short. And I wear suspenders, so they look like clown pants on me, but then they move around. I can put junk in the pockets. They don't fall down. And so.
What about you, Craig? Do you have a preferred pant you like to wear?
How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?
As far as you want to take us.
Well, I have like 10 pairs of upland pants. I mean, it's my job. I have to be out in the woods. I can't say, if my client says we're going hunting and he's paying me my rate, I'm going.
Okay, and, so out of those 10 pairs, what's your favorite pair?
I have 2, but they're both Gore-Tex. One from Orvis and one from Beans. Okay. And Beans doesn't give me a discount, and Orvis gives me a huge discount, so I'm more likely to wear Orvis stuff. But they both make high-end Gore-Tex hunting pants. Early in the season, they're a little warm, but a lot of my other pants are water resistance, not waterproof.
Yep.
So when it's really wet, and I want to be dry, I've got 2 or 3 sets of Gore-Tex pants and Gore-Tex coats, and and I renew them regularly. When they start getting clogged up with sweat and dirt, they stop losing their water resistance, and you can wash them and treat them, and they pop right back.
Well, my whole thing, probably one of the biggest things at the top of my list for upland pants is I got to have a pocket that's straight at the front. I can't have a drop side pocket. I don't even know what that's called in seamstress, but if that pocket's not straight at the top, like a pair of jeans, it drives me insane. I always feel like something's going to fall out when I'm going over and under things or under a fence. And it's happened before. All you got to do is lose one set of keys in the field from rolling somewhere the wrong way, and you go, I never want that pocket ever again. So that's like high on my list. I think the waterproof is too, but I like flexibility as well. But I'm going to go to that gear question. It's about pants. Third question. Craig's up 2-0, Greg. This is getting pretty serious at this point.
It's looking like I'm wearing a kilt this fall.
According to a 2018 National Health Statistics report, what is the average waist circumference of an adult male over the age of 20? This is going to be valuable for you guys when you go to order that kilt too.
Greg's a lot thinner than I am. His wife makes him run half marathons and stuff.
That's right. She keeps me fit.
Well, you guys just got to average between the two of you. It's probably right on the number. Got your answers?
I do.
All right. What's the average waist size for adult male above the age of 20? 36, versus 42? The answer is 40.2.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So again, Craig goes through 3-0. He's putting
I'm way
on a
too
clinic.
optimistic.
And my answer was substantially above my own waist size, but I knew that was the case.
You're feeling good.
This is a full-on spanking. Great. You got to be nervous now because technically speaking, there's only 5 questions. So
That's right. I'm just gonna order the skirt now.
Right.
And I'm going to hire someone to follow us around that day, so you'll have lots of video to.
Oh no, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great video.
I may come up and video that thing for you.
Hey, would love to have you, Brian.
So here's the thought I was having when I learned you guys were hunting with pointers. Pointers generally considered, and you're going to probably raise your eyebrows when I say this, but pointers are generally speaking, especially out west, a ranging dog. Fast-moving, long-legged, ranging dogs. And it seems to me that there's been more of a trend, especially in the Northeast, a trend that I think I see, but maybe I'm wrong, where people trend towards setters more. Is range ever a problem for you guys with your pointers? Is the distance and speed that those dogs run ever an issue in the grouse woods?
You want to go first, Craig?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's a non-issue. It's not about how big they run or how fast they run. It's about how staunch they are once they find a bird. If they'll stand there till you can get there, if they're 200 yards away when they go on point, it's not a problem. And the more experienced dogs are gonna pin a bird at that distance. And people, when they first start hunting with me and I say, oh, the dog just went on point, he's 120 yards away, they're like, oh, well, it's like a waste of time to walk over there. The bird will never be there. But most of the time it is, and it is worth walking over there. So
it sounds like you guys are using GPS collars, or at least you are, Craig.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your experience the same, Greg? No problem, because you're hunting.
I don't have any problems with. Yeah, I mean, as long as I can control the dog, if I can get her to come back to me, if I can get her to hunt with me, I don't have any problems with a dog going out 200 yards. My dogs usually don't hunt that far, maybe 100 yards, 150 at the most. But I can handle my dogs. They're paying attention to me. What you don't want is a dog that goes out far and doesn't pay any attention to you and hunts on its own. And most of the covers I hunt, so if I hunt up where Craig is, there's plenty of land up there too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about your dog
crossing.
There's plenty of country up there. So I used to worry about it when I was younger, and I had other dogs when I first started out, because I think you get it's nervous to have a dog, especially before they had GPS collars. I mean, having a dog that was at 150 yards when you run, it just bells. I mean, if you don't pay attention, you can lose your dog pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think the GPS collars changed a lot, especially the way grouse hunters hunt. And I just you guys may know or you may not know, I hunt a mixed crowd, so I hunt a flusher and a setter together. That may be blasphemy for true pointing guys, but that's the way I hunt everywhere and get those dogs to work together. So our range is generally shorter, but I hunt with lots of guys who have long ranging dogs. And some of them hunt with GPS collars, and then other ones use the audible beep on the collar. That beep to me tends to it's a harsh to my ear in the grouse woods. I'm used to hunting silent most of the time, so when I hear that beep, it does something to me. That will, but GPS collars have been a savior for peace of mind, especially. I use a GPS collar on the setter, even though she's old enough to where I probably wouldn't have to use anything on her anymore, but it's just peace of mind to make sure that if that dog ever gets out somewhere too far away, you're going to be able to find her. So I really like it for that fact alone.
It's completely changed the game, but 200 yards isn't long range. What do you think's long range, Craig? 500-600 yards? I mean, like if we were
For
talking
me,
about a dog in your mind that was long range, what do you think's long range?
I have bells that are good to 300 yards, and you get much beyond that, and you can't hear the dog. And because I compete too, as you know, Greg, and your dogs compete a little bit as well. And we don't get to use a tracking collar when we're competing, so you have to have a dog that will stay within bell range. And any dog that's going beyond 300 yards is probably not on the same page as you are.
Sure. Out west, 300 yards in some regards, a lot of guys with really ranging beasts, 300 yards is short for those guys out west, but up in the grouse woods, it's totally different.
Brian, these same dogs, when we go out west to hunt, they're 500-600 yard dogs. I mean, it's, they know the difference. There's no impediments to their going forward, and they'll take an edge and go and go to an objective, to a plum thicket or a tree row or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I have people calling me all the time for puppies, and I don't raise many puppies. And it's like, how much do your dogs range? And I'll say, well, what are you looking for? And they'll say 40, 50 yards. I say, call somebody else. I mean,
That's right.
I
Springer.
I can't guarantee you a puppy that's going to be a 50-yard dog. Who wants one?
Right.
The density of birds is such, even in the best of places, that a dog that only goes 50 yards isn't going to find you many birds. Unless you're going to walk 20 miles a day, and
right.
I don't do that much anymore.
That's the penalty to me hunting the mixed crowd, is that my dogs only go where they see participation, so I got to participate everywhere. So those long days are part of my mode. But let's talk about how fast dogs are. That's the next question. Since you guys have some fast beasts out there, according to an article by Dr. Anne Marie Helmenstein, what is the highest verified speed of a dog?
Sustained or sprint?
I believe it's sprint.
Does that
I only
include
read about half
greyhounds?
the article. So, yeah, it's. I don't think that the dog can sustain that speed.
I'm ready when Greg is.
Let's see it. 27.
25.
25. Well, it's not a bird dog breed, but Dr. Helmenstein clocked a greyhound at 41.8 miles per hour in Australia.
What did Greg have for a number? You didn't even ask for his.
27.
20.
Oh, okay.
He scored a point. He's on the board.
I'm closer.
All right.
I guess it may be bad to say, but we're all kind of getting up there in age, and I think bird hunters are kind of a dying breed nowadays. We're the smallest fraction of the hunting community, if you will. If you look in terms of numbers on the surveys, you got any ideas on how to increase participation in bird hunting?
I don't really. I mean, my clients are I don't think I have anybody that's not at least in their 40s, and most of my guys are older, but it's not a cheap date to come up here and hunt with me and stay in a hotel or motel and eat out and all that sort of stuff. So there aren't a lot of young people that can afford to do it the way I do it. But I don't know. I see young people. I mean, it's never going to be a sport that attracts huge numbers of people. Anybody can buy a turkey call and a 12 gauge and go sit out for 10 mornings a year. There's little gear involved. There's little real knowledge involved. I mean, you ride around, you see a turkey, you say, okay, I'll go back there tomorrow morning. You don't need a dog. You don't need, basically you can go in your Subaru if you want to. So I don't ever think we're going to be a huge segment of the sport. I don't think we ever were. When the population was more rural, there were probably more hunters than there are now, but of all kinds. But for upland bird hunters that are hunting with dogs, there's people coming along. I know quite a few young guys that have their first dog or their second dog, and so there's another generation coming along. It's just not a lot of people.
You don't think we're going to ever dig out of the hole, though, right? Like, as far as upland hunting goes, you don't foresee us digging out of the hole?
No, I don't see how we can. I mean, there's only a limited amount of time and space, and
there's just less birds.
Yeah, and
I mean that's the problem. You can't go out in your backyard. And I mean, 50 years ago, people so where I live just outside of Boston. Craig's from the same town that I live in now. 50 years ago, there were grouse and pheasants in this town. Now it's just houses.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody was hunting grouse or pheasants around here. So but you think it wasn't that far from here that you could do it.
Greg, you think that's the big obstacle, though, is lack of opportunity for the most part?
Yeah, no. I mean, how many people? So I have to drive. So Craig's is 3 hours from me, and I can get into birds. I can get into bird numbers maybe 2 hours from my house. But so when I hunt now, what I typically do is I take I go away for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I'll go somewhere, I stay there, I hunt the area, and then I come home. Most guys can't do that. They don't have, they don't have the work schedules, the free time. And then, so that comes down to being able to do it on the weekends. If you've got a family, you can't take off. You can't drive up to Craig's on Saturday. You'd have to leave at 3 a.m, and then you'd have to be out of there by noon so you could be home in time. You just can't, people just don't have, it's just not as accessible. It's not as available. There aren't as many birds. I mean, look at down south. Who hunts wild quail in Georgia anymore, unless you're really rich?
They don't exist. And those places, technically, most of the birds aren't wild anyways, as most of us know.
I mean, 50 years ago, that stuff was all over the South. It's not coming back. It's simply, it's gone.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
if you read any of the classic upland authors, Foster or Nash Buckingham, who was a quail hunter, and you read about the places they used to hunt, and going out in Connecticut and shooting 20 brace of woodcock and 15 brace of quail and 3 or 4 grouse in a day. There's no place in Connecticut that has any birds.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's all put and take.
And the same in most of Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire, where William Hardin Foster and all those guys that wrote all those books and stuff about the great grouse hunting, they were all hunting the farms that had been abandoned right after World War II, and it's all housing developments now.
So we don't have high hopes for R3, is what we're saying. But
well, I mean, I don't know if they can't bring I hunted South Dakota a lot from 2000 to 2010, and I know that in the early 90s, there weren't a lot of pheasants in the places I hunted. And then about 2000 to 2010, there were tons of pheasants, and now it's kind of turned the other way.
Yeah.
The land itself is still there. So the possibility for some areas to have birds again in high numbers, I think that's still possible.
Well, let's go to the last question. Has to do with participation in some regards, but I didn't want to make it easy for you for bird hunting. So I went.
I think Craig locked on us.
Oh, he's back. Oh, he's out. He's back.
Yeah, I mean,
he's back.
According to a 2017 Pew Research Center study, what percentage of American adults have fired a gun?
All adults or males only?
All adults. What percentage of all American adults, according to the Pew Research Center 2017 study, have fired a gun? The reason I asked that question is because target shooting actually seems to be an entry point for a lot of people, and still seems to be growing in some regards. I don't know how many of those people translate into bird hunters eventually, but it's an interesting stat. You got your percentages?
I do.
Let's see them. 30% versus 51%. Well, according to the Pew Research Center, 72% of American adults have fired
I'll
a
take
gun.
that.
So Greg with a late comeback, but still loses the battle.
Still
Craig wins
loses.
3-2. That means that
I'm wearing
Greg
the
this
skirt.
fall, can't wait to see him in his Upland skirt / kilt. It's going to be a great.
I'm going to start a new fashion. I'm going to contact Orvis and see if I can get a kilt that's fronted with, like nylon, so that
Yeah.
And shell holders.
When you
shell holders,
made the
exactly.
suggestion, I Googled it. They have like camo combat kilts and stuff. So I'm sure you can find whatever you need.
Well, thanks so much for coming on tonight, guys. It's been a great episode. I'm going to let you guys, I know you got lots going on. Why don't you each tell me what's going on in your lives, what you got working? I know Craig's got a book out there. Craig, why don't you tell everybody about your book? And of course, you can see the link for that book on Ultimate Upland as well. I've got it all over the place there now, but what else you got going on now, Craig?
Well, the book has done really well. I'm really happy with it. The publisher's trying to get me to do another one, so that's a possibility. As you mentioned earlier, I'm a columnist for Pointing Dog Journal, so I got that going on. And it's summer. This is my busiest time of year. I got a bunch of dogs here and more coming, so we're getting at it.
Well, make sure you guys check out Craig's book. And what about you, Greg? What do you got going on?
So I've got an article. This is the latest issue of Shooting Sportsman. I'm a editor-at-large for this magazine. What's it say? I had this article called Double Dealings, which is about buying vintage guns. There's always my blog, dogsanddoubles.com, and on Instagram, dogsanddoubles.com. I've got an article coming out in Project Upland. I do a lot with those guys. I'll be bringing one of my pointers up to Craig's in a couple months. And then, I don't know, I think I'm gonna try to shoot a video this year of grouse hunting and stuff. And I'll make a video of my new Ultimate Upland hunting skirt.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see it. Thanks again for coming on, guys. Great show. And I'll include all of the links for everything that we talked about in the comment section below. Of course, smash that subscribe button if you like what you see. And you can check us out on social media, Ultimate Upland, all the time. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks,
It was
guys.
fun.
Great seeing you. Have a good. Bye-bye.